Welcome to the Animal Aspirations Podcast. In this episode, we speak to the first Animal Aspirations social media reps about growing the online platform of the organisation and the importance of social media in a digital age. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Yeah. So I'm Saskia. I'm just about to go into my third year of the 5-year veterinary course and I'm really enjoying it. As for Animal Aspirations, I've been part of it since I joined the RVC, so since 2019. I saw it at the Freshers Festival and I was like, this is for me, and I joined. And for the past 2 years I've been managing social media, and very recently I was elected vice president, and I've been very grateful to have that position, and I've been enjoying it a lot. So that's me.
Hi, my name is Rhiana. I'm going into my second year and I did Gateway. So like Saskia, ever since I joined RVC as part of Animal Aspirations, also a social media rep. Me and Saskia built up the social media from nothing. And now I am the senior national rep. So because we've got different vet schools joining us. So that's going to be interesting. Yeah.
No, it's going to be a great challenge. So before we get into like the social media aspect and your role within Animal Aspirations, I just want to know, like, what was your journey into veterinary? How did you get to become a student at the RVC?
Well, for me, like a cliche story, I've always wanted to be a vet, but everyone who I met kind of always said, why don't you be a doctor? Why don't you do this? No one in my community knew. Some people didn't know what a vet was. So going through school, it was a bit hard. And it came to the point where I was choosing between art and veterinary medicine. And I chose veterinary medicine. I still do art on the side. And then one day I really wanted to go Surrey, but my mum was saying, keep your options open. So during the summer, there was a Sutton Trust summer school. And I went to the RVC Sutton Trust summer school. And I had a great time. And I felt, you know what, maybe I should stay in London, even though I'm from here. And then I put that down as one of my choices, got into Gateway, and here I am.
Yeah. I had always quite a similar experience. So I just always wanted to be a vet. I grew up with pets, and my dad had dogs growing up when he was a kid, so he was pretty supportive of it. My parents are really supportive, which was really nice, but again, it was a lot of, why don't you consider medicine instead? And I did start to consider it when I was sort of GCSEs, because I just really didn't like the thought of putting an animal to sleep. So I was like, you know what, you don't have to do that for medicine. So I really considered it, and then I was like, I don't actually like sick people, so perhaps we'll go back to the animal route. And then I just sort of powered on through. As for the RVC, I'm from South London, so as soon as I started looking into universities, obviously that one stood out because it was really close to home and I quite liked that aspect. And as soon as I went there for an open day, I obviously just fell in love. Like, I really liked the campus. I went to a really small school, so that was quite a nice thing, but the university was really small. I thought I wouldn't find it too overwhelming because I was already really nervous about going to uni. And then I just loved it ever since I started. I think it's been a really good fit for me. So yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Okay, so now I want to ask, because you're very involved in Animal Aspirations, what drew you to want to do like outreach work, giving back work in like, and you saw Animal Aspirations, and what made you feel like this is an organization that like aligns with my morals and I want to join it? I want to be a part of the next generation of it.
So I think since I was little, my mum's always encouraged academic like perseverance, because she was the first woman in her family to go to university. And so for her, it's always been about giving me the best opportunity to go to university. And I did it a lot in school, where I mentored some of the younger kids. And when I came to uni, I thought, this is the area which is what I want to do. I think as I got older and started reading a bit more and looking around and examining like myself and the society that I lived in, it was very apparent that I was the minority, and in veterinary medicine, like really predominantly so. So it was a great way to sort of combine two interests of wanting to like mentor younger kids into veterinary medicine and wanting to make an active change in terms of diversity, and then it just sort of combined, and so Animal Aspirations is absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that's kind of similar to my one as well. I think for me, because also from South London, we never really had anyone come into our school, primary or secondary, to do anything about medicine. And I never really saw any Black professionals or academics who ever came to visit. So when I heard of Animal Aspirations and it wasn't an ACS, I was like, this is the next best thing. And I was like, there's people like me in this organization. And for me, I was like, I want there to be more BAME people in this uni. So I was like, I might as well be the forefront so that people can see, oh, there is more of us, so that you can join. And I think I like hearing people's stories. So I was like, it's so nice to hear younger children talk about what they want to be when they grow up, and just knowing that you're part of their journey. I wanted to do that for someone else because I didn't have it. So
we're all from South London. I realize that. South London gang. Now, you were saying about how your school didn't really have people come in. Did they have, like, I know some schools who normally have better resources and quite well off have like a department for helping people get into university, like especially with medicine, they have like, you know, mock interviews, and they have like a guidance counselor kind of person that kind of helps them with the application and things they need to be doing. Did your school have any of that, or was you applying to veterinary kind of like you just had to figure it out by yourself and just, you know, hope for the best?
I think for my school, I told them from when I came in year 7 I wanted to be a vet, but no one took me seriously. So it only came to year 11 when I got my GCSE results. They're like, oh, she's serious, like, and she can make it. That's when teachers start asking me, like, oh, have you thought about doing this work experience, doing this? And I was put onto a medicine, Cambridge, Oxford society thing, but it mostly focused on getting into medicine. So didn't really help for anything to do with veterinary medicine interviews or how to write your personal statement. So I usually just went to see the deputy of our sixth form, and she would just talk to me about what she knows, because there was only one other person in our sixth form who got in. So yeah.
I think I was very lucky that I went to a school that, as you did describe, had a careers department, and especially because I went to an all-girls school, there had been previous students who had applied for veterinary medicine. So me and a friend who we both go to the RVC now, and we've grown up together, we've known each other since we were 5, sort of went along to all the things together. And as you said, like, they didn't have any veterinary things, it was always medicine. So we always tagged along, was like, but if it was an animal, like, what would you do? And like sort of forced them to make it applicable for us. And then we just sort of started our own veterinary society to get like practice for ourselves. But I had my form teacher in particular was really helpful in helping me with like all the applications, all the forms that you have to fill in, and it was nice to have the support, even though like she didn't necessarily know anything specific about veterinary. It was just nice to have someone to support you through the stressful experience. So yeah, I was very lucky.
And I think that's kind of like one of the unique selling points of Animal Aspirations, is that we've all like come from experience of not having, you know, the resources and having to figure it out ourselves. That now that we're in a position where we can help other people, we know we've made the student booklet, which is like basically a how-to guide of how to do it, because it's all of our experiences combined together. And that, you know, us going to workshops, or if anyone's interested, we can like be that helping hand that we never had kind of coming into it. So I think that's really nice. But you two specifically, when you first came to Animal Aspirations, were in charge of social media, but they didn't have a social media. So you were like the forefront of creating the social media empire that we have at the moment. What kind of drew you to apply for the social media role straight away? Because a lot of times, you know, some people might want to get involved with like the workshops first, and then they'd be like, oh, I can do more, let me try and do social media, or like apply for a different position. But you guys went straight in, let's do social media. What was your like thought process in applying for the social media role?
I think, if I'm honest, I didn't realize that you couldn't apply for a senior 2 role. So that played into part of it. I was like, oh, I have to apply for one of these as well. But I also really wanted to do it because I think we can all agree social media is an incredibly influential platform, especially nowadays. And the fact that, like, to reach our target audience, that's going to be the main way. I thought that's the best way to reach kids. I also quite like doing a lot of like admin behind, that makes me sound really sad, but like admin behind the scenes kind of stuff. Like, while I love going into workshops, like we're students as well. You can't go into a workshop or a school every single week, and I wanted to do something that I could do in my pajamas in bed at the end of a long day and still make a difference while not having to get on a tube for an hour or something like that. So it was kind of the best thing I ever did.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you could just apply for workshop either. I thought you had to choose another role that you fit. So I chose social media just because I have like experience in Photoshop and graphics. So I was like, I can use that. And I think I was like, because there was no social media, I was like, oh, this is something that I can say, oh, I started this and I built this up and gained more skills through that. And I was like, it just seemed like a challenge. And I wanted to be more involved in Animal Aspirations rather than just an ambassador or workshop leader.
No, I definitely agree, like, because the role of social media, like you said, you are doing weekly stuff. It's like how we engage with, you know, the public on like a weekly basis, and the stuff that we put out as content is very different from us doing a workshop. And also the kids who are doing a workshop is not necessarily the outreach that we can get from our social media. There's way more people that we can touch with our social media. So I do agree with that. What did you like, what was the, when they first presented to you that you had to like create the social media, like what was the sort of like meeting that you had between the two of you, being like, so like how do we go about starting it? Like, did you just like start making accounts for everything and they were like, cool, so now like what are we going to post about? What did you guys first discuss about it?
I remember me and Saskia met and we were like, let's post memes. And we found like funny vet memes to do with animals. And then we posted it and Lavinia was like, no, that's not the way we're going. And we were like, oh, okay. So we did like loads of brainstorm meetings. And I think our first ideas were like just trying to get like quotes from different students and how they felt about being at RVC. And it was quite a slow burner, but then we started like getting our own, like, I realized that Saskia is really good at writing captions and doing informative posts and like helping my posts sound less blunt. So we both learned about each other's weaknesses and areas. So I'll be like, okay, let's do this. And then we just collabed on stuff we saw, and then stuff that was in the news as well. We started posting about that. Also looking at other accounts like Men and the Medics, trying to not copy their stuff, but see what they were posting about and adapt it to our one.
Yeah, market research. That's what it's all about. Seeing what's out there and seeing what you can make, you know, the best of the situation.
Yeah.
Yourself out of. What about you, Saskia? What did you feel like?
Yeah, I think they had already set up all the accounts, but they posted like once a month and they had something like 50 followers. And so I remember meeting in the common room and we like drew on a piece of paper like all these brainstorming ideas. And I think like it was so nice to meet someone who like was like from a similar background, like South London, like got it. And it was also just nice to meet someone who is like passionate about wanting to make a change and doing obviously interest in social media. And then I think it obviously took a while that we had all these great ideas about like, let's interview all the like BAME students in the RVC. There are really not that many BAME students in the RVC. So quite a lot of our plans we were like, okay, let's like maybe put that on board. We can revisit that at a later stage. But yeah, I think it was just like, it was really nice working together and we fit really well together. Like as Rhiana said, we have exactly complementary like strengths and weaknesses, so as a team it was really perfect. And we kind of had free reign. It was really nice. And slowly we just started building it up and making like connections with a few like vets with social media profiles, and that was obviously great. Also just like for us on a personal note to sort of speak to people who were in the industry already, and seeing people who were like us out there was really nice as well.
What do you think one of the roles or aims of Animal Aspirations is promoting diverse role models? Because a lot of the time people come into vet school and they've never seen anyone who looks like them as a vet, as a BAME, visible ethnic minority student. Like for us, at least when I was applying, like there wasn't anyone that I was like, wow, look, they're out there doing it, so I can too. So like the whole conversation around visibility is so important. How do you think like social media plays a role in that? And why was that something that you kind of like wanted to make as one of your big focuses, being like, we need to be promoting these diverse role models? We want the BAME students, yes, there's not much of them. How can we do that if we don't have, we're trying to promote something that we don't have to get more people into it? Like, how do we do that?
I think it was just all about like promoting what we do have. So obviously we interviewed all the BAME students that like we kept messaging, and we got a few of them, and that was amazing. And then it was like, okay, like what other sources? Because like the whole of Animal Aspirations is full of role models by that very definition, that we're visible people of ethnic minorities that are working within the veterinary industry. And so I think once we'd sort of interviewed all the other people in the RVC, it then became to like meet our team, meet the people who are going to your schools, meet the people who are running the social media accounts, emailing with you, making the content, and that was kind of supposed to be like, now look at the organization, why is that something? And I think with promoting visible role models, especially over the past year, while we've not been able to go out into schools, this was the only way that we could do it, and I think it worked really well. I think also like every time a specific event came around, we could really like hammer that ethos home. So like Black History Month last year, I emailed like different vet schools and found BAME students from there and made like black and white portraits of them to post to sort of get the message home that like there are people that are ethnic minorities in the veterinary profession, like we do exist, even if you don't see them when you're 14, 15, we are here. You know, you can do it as well. And it was just kind of trying to get that out there.
Yeah, I agree as well, because I think like what Saskia did, when people started seeing that, oh, there is more people like me, they then sent their photos. So we are out there. It's just, I think they were just laying a bit on the sidelines, just chilling. But then when they realized, oh, like they're actually promoting us, people started DMing us, people started saying, oh yeah, I want to be featured on this too as well. And I think having the same faces on our Instagram also helped people reach out to us. Because for me, when I was applying, I searched RVC and I was looking for like BAME, like people there, and I couldn't find it. But on every single like promotional stuff, I saw Emmanuel, and that's when I was like, oh wow, like a black boy, and I was like, oh. So for me, that was like my thing of, oh, we are here, and because he went on the Sutton Trust Summer School, I was like, oh, so we actually are here. So that's what made me feel less apprehensive about applying, because I was like, someone's been there before, so they've broken that door for me. So let's hope it's easier when I go there.
I think the importance of, oh sorry Olivia,
No.
seeing someone is like so valuable, because I remember Emmanuel saying when he was like 14 and went to a summer school, he saw Lavinia,
yeah,
like, oh my god, there's someone else. So it's so nice to see that like cycle of repetition, impact that you do have, because obviously look at Emmanuel now, he's the president and he's taken that role from Lavinia herself, so it's been such a nice hand down, and I think like you can't underestimate the impact that visibility has.
I wanted to ask, because obviously you've grown our social media from nothing, and now, you know, we've got a decent number of followers. But specifically during last summer, the Black Lives Matter protest, we experienced an exponential growth in the amount of followers. Can you just talk to us a little bit about like how that was, how it felt strange that obviously there was this tragedy that was happening, and then all of a sudden people were like, oh, how, like, what can we do to help other people in the industry? Like, I felt like people were paying more attention to us than they previously had done, and obviously like, we had a social media growth, and in general like people were asking us for our opinions, and people wanted to be involved in stuff, especially with like the RVC as an institution creating the task force, trying to like figure out ways that we could fix solutions. So what was it kind of like going through that? Did you have like people DMing you questions and stuff?
It was honestly like overnight my phone kept buzzing, and it was like I went to bed with something like 400 followers, and I woke up and it was 1,500, and I remember messaging Rhiana and be like, is your Instagram showing this? I don't know if mine's like been bugged or something, and it was just unbelievable. And I think, as you said, like it was an absolute tragedy what happened last year, but the silver lining is that people started to understand that there are organizations that already do exist to support like increasing diversity. They've existed for years. They've just needed more people to see them and encourage them and support them, and it was nice that we were one of those organizations that were being recognized. So yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I feel like the stuff that we do is such like varied, you know, like we have quizzes and stuff that people can do, and we have like you said, like the black and white profile contents, and we do like informational things about like lambing season and stuff that people might not necessarily know about, because again, like the veterinary profession is so diverse that I think a lot of people coming into it don't really know the amount of exposure of different career paths that you can do. So I think it's quite nice that we get to be that exposure for them. Is there anything that you've like done with the social media that you're really proud of, like something like a project that you came up with that you're like, oh yeah, this is good and people really resonated with it?
Proud of our Christmas series, because I just felt like Christmas, obviously we know Santa Claus, like all of that, but I felt like we made such a spin on it to make animals involved as well as veterinary. And so many people were like, oh, I didn't know you can make a cake for a dog, or like, oh, I didn't know like dogs ate this over Christmas. Like, it caused a lot of engagement to people to actually think about like animals can be applied like every day. It's not just at a certain time, or oh, as a present, like it's 24/7. Like, so I would say the Christmas project, just because it was the most interactive.
And if you could just explain to people like kind of what that was about for those who might not have seen it yet.
Oh, it was basically I think it was 12-day or 24 advent calendar. So each day we had like, oh, go to these places in London to do this tray, or make a Christmas cake for your dog. Or we had, did you know that reindeers are actually girls? Like, we had Christmassy animal-based facts that caused a lot of like people to DM us, oh, I didn't know that. So yeah, it was just, I think we were trying to get more children to our page during Christmas, and that definitely worked.
Yeah, I think one of the goals that both I and Rhiana had was to get a lot more of a younger audience onto our Instagram, because we had a lot of vet students and people within the industry already, which is great, but our target audience is obviously kids. And so we thought Christmas is the perfect time to do that. And I remember we interviewed like Fabian Rivers to do like a little how does my job change over Christmas, which was just interesting like for us as well. And we filmed a little like clinical exam of the dog. And people, we got loads of messages saying like, could you do this with a horse? Like, could you do this with a lizard? Like, so people really liked having like a video that they could watch with an animal, with a person of color in, showing that like, this is what being a vet is like if you want to do it. Like, this is amazing.
Do you find it fun running the social media, like being able to just be creative and think of like taking the stuff that you're learning like as a vet student, being like, oh, you know, but with the physical exam of the dog, like that's stuff that we actually learn, like the anatomy of everything, and it's like, oh, how can I break that down to make it fun and creative? Like, do you enjoy trying to think of cool, unique things that like will be enjoyable for the audience to watch?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it helps to try and cement information in my head anyway, just because you need to try and simplify it. I think just going through the whole process of thinking, what would kids like? How should I simplify this? What picture should I use? Like, it's just fun. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. I like fiddling around with all the graphics as well. It's very soothing. If you've like finished a long day of like lectures in uni, it's nice to like do something where you are making a difference, like you are doing something, but you're not like poring over a textbook and highlighting or listening to a recording of someone speaking. Like, you can just do something like passive, putting your energy in and make something that you're proud of as well. Because in our profession, you treat things, you don't make anything, do you know what I mean? Whereas this was nice to make something that you're proud of. And I really enjoyed filming the little clinical exam of your dog video, because I just like playing with my dog. So it's not just me filming like playing with my dog.
Oh, bless. What skills do you think you've learned being like in charge of like an organization's social media? Because I guess that's like quite like a significant like thing to have done it like by your ages. That's very impressive. It's a round of applause. But what things do you think you're gonna like take away into your like personal dives, into your career? Like, so what sort of like transferable skills, as the terminology is, you gained from this role?
I think for me, being more organized, like scheduling posts, knowing when to schedule a meeting with someone, knowing by this date we should have this done. I kind of applied that to the way I study now. And also my people skills as well, because you get so many DMs of people with different demeanors. You have to know how to respond in a professional, soft manner, even if they say something ridiculous. I think I improved my skills on how to deal with different people. Yeah.
Yeah, I think professionalism, I mean, not that emotional before, but definitely has improved, like remembering like I'm representing an organization, and not in the same way that your school would be like you're representing the school when you go out on a school trip or something, but like you're representing something that you believe in and that you work hard in, that you really are like passionate about. So when someone messaged or put a comment, it was like, no, like you are representing an organization. And I think for me, like delegating was quite a good thing that I learned a lot more. As me and Rhiana worked for 2 years, and I'm really organized, so like we helped each other, but she was also like, you need to delegate more, like this is not feasible, like and it was perfect because we obviously get on well. So when I had times where I had to be like something's happened, I have to take a break or something, it was so nice that she was like, yeah, I got you, like
yeah,
something, and vice versa as well. So we worked really well, and I think my weaknesses became your strengths, and your strengths became like whatever the saying that is. We worked very well together.
What do you think were some of the challenges of like being in charge? Because obviously there's no like, Animal Aspirations is very unique and new, and there was no like blueprint for growing the organization, but there's also like kind of no blueprint for like an animal based Instagram that's not a vet Instagram, but also showcasing vetty stuff. Like how did you, what challenges did you face while trying to like grow the Instagram to where it is now, and all social medias?
I think initially it was managing our expectations and ideas, because as mentioned, like we came in with so many big ideas, which were great. I mean, I'm not biased, but they were great. But we didn't have like the manpower or the people to support those ideas. And I think while it, for example, like it was great doing the Faces of the Future, like Black History Month portrait thing, but I remember getting increasingly stressed and worried when I was like, there's nobody's messaging me, like we've run out of people, like who else am I going to use, and just feeling the pressure a little bit. So again, I think like working in a team makes it a lot easier and a lot nicer, but I think just managing our own expectations, and also like we're students, like accepting that and making sure that we give ourselves a break as well sometimes was a challenge.
I guess I didn't find Instagram really challenging. I found Twitter challenging just because there's more professionals and organizations on there. So when they ask you a question, I have to remember that I'm answering on the behalf of Animal Aspirations, not my own opinion. So I have to kind of keep it unbiased. So I think I found that hard, making sure that whether I posted wasn't too on one side or the other, but like making sure I addressed the main controversial issues, but not skewing too much on what my opinion is.
Yeah,
that's what I found challenging.
Yeah, no, I get that. And we've talked all about our social media, but where can people go to find us on the internet?
I think now you can just Google us.
I think we have a website, Animal Aspirations website, and then we've also got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
Yeah,
TikTok as well.
Yeah.
And TikTok. So we're just everywhere. So if you don't follow us already, follow us, because we're everywhere. And clearly we have 2 people that put in a lot of work. Now, Rhiana, you said that your role just got extended because now you're in charge of all the vet school Animal Aspirations branch manager leader. Talk to us a bit about that. Were you feeling like nervous about having to lead like all the other vet schools in the social media realm?
I am nervous just because there's going to be more of us, and because I haven't met them yet, I'll meet them next week. I don't know who's good at what, and I think like working with Saskia, we kind of picked it up pretty quickly, but knowing now there's 10 people, it's going to be a slow burn of knowing, okay, this person's good at this, okay, this person's good at doing this. And because like I don't have Saskia now, so it's just like I've got to remember like all this experience I've learned over the 2 years and be like, oh, how do we do this, how do we do that? So I am nervous, but I'm prepared because I feel like the social media will just get better because we have more people, more ideas. So we'll just go up.
And what do you kind of like hope to be your legacy from you two starting creating the social media? You just want to see continued growth and just more varied content ideas?
I still want to see more children follow us and like more interaction with children. I don't necessarily care about the follower count. It's just if we have more people DM us wanting to know our stories or talk to us just for a chit chat, stuff like that, to know that we're actually making a difference in people's lives and they remember us to DM us. Yeah, stuff like that.
Oh, that's so wholesome. Oh, well, I hope from maybe listening to this or putting it out into the universe that more children want to DM and have a chat with you, because you're a lover, Rhiana and Saskia. So why would anyone not want to come and have a talk?
Thank you.
I just wanted to end up asking about what your kind of life mottos or like philosophies or like any quotes that you have found and really resonated with you and helped you get through hard times, not necessarily like in the social media realm, but I just think it's really interesting learning about other people's like philosophies.
I've got one quote.
Mm-hmm.
It's, your value doesn't decrease based on someone else's inability to see your worth.
Ooh.
I think that one really helped me through Gateway, because people kind of look down on Gateway students. So remembering that, like, I'm still here, I'm gonna get there, I'm not any less. That's what helped me get through my Gateway year.
You are gonna get there.
That's so nice. That's such a nice one. Mine is, I mean, it seems really simple, but it's got me through like really difficult times. And my mum always says, you can eat an elephant if you eat one bite at a time, which is just her way of saying take it one step at a time. My favorite film is Rocky, so one step at a time, one round at a time, one punch at a time. And that is how I combat things. Rhiana knows I get really stressed about quite a lot of things.
Yes.
My brain goes at like a million miles an hour, and sometimes just remembering like one step at a time.
You've improved though. Yeah.
Definitely. this year I've definitely like focused a lot on it, and that's just my main thing. Like whenever I get really anxious or feel the imposter syndrome within, I'm like, just break it down, take it one step at a time. That's all that you need to do.
And I think that is like useful life experience. Like in any situation you can apply, like break it down step by step. What do I need to do? Because a lot of events in life can be very overwhelming. So lovely quotes. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. I've really enjoyed having a conversation with you two, and I hope that people watching, listening have also gained a bit more understanding about like our role in social media and why social media is important, and the importance of visibility and all the hard work that you have put into social media, you know, where it is now, the fact that we do have a big following and, you know, other people and other like groups within the profession and the industry looking to us to see our social media. So a round of applause to you doing such an amazing job with our Animal Aspirations social media. And thank you for having this conversation with me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Animal Aspirations Podcast. From listening to these guests, I hope we have shone a light on the importance of visibility and promoting diverse role models. Social media has such a massive importance in all of our lives, and I hope that through this episode, you've seen how important representation is. As Animal Aspirations, we post a lot of content on our social media channels, so give us a follow if you don't already, at Animal Asp on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and also check out our website, www.animalaspirations.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Animal Aspirations Podcast, and we'll see you next time.